We often hear from men that worry about intruding on women in tech spaces. What's your perspective on that feeling, and what do you think needs to change for allies to feel more confident stepping forward?
This is one I recognise. I was recently asked to be on a panel in uh, an event which was about cybersecurity for women, and I had those kind of similar feelings that I might be intruding in this kind of space that was for women in tech. And that feeling usually comes from a good place, from good intent, but kind of silence doesn't really help anyone. And I don't think allyship necessarily means you are um, leading or dominating or speaking for women. It's just about supporting and listening, and following the lead of the people in those spaces.
Now, every once in a while, I still hear the odd ill advised comment made by someone, even if well intentioned, about how they should best support someone, usually based on outdated stereotypes and social norms. My view on it: aim to work on creating a safe and inclusive space. Focus on how your actions can help build a safe, judgment free environment where people can be who they are and can express themselves safely.
I think this can be a legitimate concern for a lot of people. It certainly feels a bit presumptuous to take on the role of an ally or engage with a perceived social group, um, without prior invite, I guess. This sort of fairly tribal perception of the self and the familiar and the other, and the unconscious biases that that can cause. That's what I think needs to be addressed in order to make workplaces kind of truly inclusive for all. But we need to see each other as just one unit. We're all trying to get things done. We all have our roles, and we are all equally important within the organisation.
I grew up in a household without rigid gender roles, so hearing this concern from other men feels unfamiliar to me, but I do know it exists. Women in the tech industry should never feel that they need to prove themselves. They are more than capable and often excel beyond expectations placed upon them. The responsibility lies in men to challenge the outdated attitude and to call out the canteen culture that perpetuates the stereotypes. True allyship means creating an environment where inclusion is the norm, not the exception.
So yes, I would worry and have worried about intruding on not just women in tech spaces, but women's spaces generally. And I think that's largely because the world is full of men who are telling women what they should or shouldn't do or how they should do it. And the idea that I might be coming across like that fills me with dread. I think we've got work to do as men to educate each other on the importance of self-awareness, how you're coming across, how you're comporting yourself, and how it might be received by other people. I think if we can raise that bar up, then I think women will be a lot more comfortable having men coming into those kind of spaces, and we will be too.
I'm very aware of not intruding into other people's groups and safe spaces, and I'm aware too of not wanting to make things worse, of trying to make things better. And lots of things related to allyship are a balancing act. I think you can't expect women themselves to do all the work around how to make the tech industry a better place for women, but that conversation can't happen without women either. And finding the right balance is really hard. And to be clear, not something I think I'm really good at. I'm struggling to do it along with everyone else. And in terms of what needs to change, I think a lot of it is related to trust. Allies have to build trust in order to be useful, and allies also need to trust other people, to believe what they're told about other people's experiences, and also to trust that people will tell them when they inevitably make mistakes.
As a man, I know I don't fully understand many of the experiences, women in tech face, and I'm still learning how to be a better ally. That learning process can be uncomfortable at times, and there are moments of awkwardness, but that discomfort shouldn't be a reason to stay silent or disengaged. If men only step into these conversations when they feel completely confident or believe they have all the answers, very little will change, I believe. Allyship requires a willingness to engage before you feel ready, listen more than you speak, and to accept that you'll sometimes get things wrong, and then learn from that.
Our recent Women in Tech event shows that challenges in the tech industry, like imposter syndrome or lack of confidence, really are universal. How do you personally relate to these kinds of struggles, and what does that shared experience teach us about supporting each other?
In my lifetime, I have both been subject to and witnessed a range of discriminatory behaviours, whether that has been homophobic behaviour aimed directly at me, or ableist, sexist, and transphobic rhetoric aimed towards loved ones. Now, anyone who's experienced this kind of behaviour will know that, as well as undermining potential career prospects, it can be incredibly detrimental to the mental health of those being targeted by such actions. And the reality is that some colleagues still don't understand how harmful this kind of behaviour or rhetoric can be, and how it can create an environment where individuals may feel isolated and cut off.
So I believe imposter syndrome is fairly common in a lot of vocations, but particularly within the tech industry, because you're expected to understand like a considerable range of information. There's a lot to technology, and the deeper you dive, the more you find, and implement that using a variety of skills. So I believe there's a mantra that my old manager Hannah used to say, which is try, fail, try again, succeed. And that really put me at ease coming into the new department, because it's a good way to minimize imposter syndrome and the associated anxieties with it. Along with it diminishes any cultural conditioning that people may have had as a male growing up, a female growing up, whatever. It acknowledges kind of there's always room for everybody to improve, to try new things, and there's always more to learn.
I've had a few moments when stepping into some of the big leadership roles where imposter syndrome is very real. I think recognising that those feelings are universal makes it easier for people to speak openly about them, and that's going to help remove the stigma. Not enough people do talk about it, but again, it's fostering the culture where it's good to make it normal. It's not vulnerability, it's not weakness. And people admit they don't always feel confident. We can create an environment where other people, especially women, don't feel that they've got to be invincible all the time. Vocalise it, normalise it. Don't carry it around.
I relate to these struggles by refusing to hide them. When a senior leader admits, I found that project incredibly daunting, or I was worried I got that call wrong, it demystifies the role for everyone else. It teaches us that confidence isn't the absence of doubt, it's the ability to move forward despite it. By sharing my own imposter moments with my team, I hope to show that these feelings are not a sign of incompetence, but a sign that you are stretching yourself.
So I can absolutely relate to things like imposter syndrome and lack of confidence and that kind of thing. It seems to me to be a universal, it's part of the human condition. It's not the same thing, but it's not dissimilar in principle to grief. It just sneaks up behind you and smacks you on the back of the head, sometimes when you least expect it. And for that reason, I don't think there is one simple way to deal with it. I think what can maybe mitigate it or ameliorate it a bit is by working in and building an environment at work that is supportive, that encourages people to talk about this kind of stuff, where everyone's honest about having been through this kind of stuff and feeling this way before, because we all have, and not minimizing it, I guess, not just being like, you'll be right. If someone's just died, you don't sort of say, cheer up. And in the same way, if someone is feeling at a real low ebb and thinks they're really bad at their job and they can't do it, I think the wrong thing to do is just go, yeah, you're great, don't worry about it, because it doesn't really work like that.
That kind of thought, that negative self-doubt, it really has an impact on you. The way I got out of it is, there's two ways actually. So the first is to stop comparing myself to others. And that's quite important, because I was putting this unnecessary pressure on myself, that if by a certain stage I'm not at this point in my career, I'm not a real cybersecurity guy, that kind of self-doubt. And what I started focusing on instead is my own journey, my own unique path, because that's all that matters, really. It won't be the same as everybody else's. It's my journey. In the same way, other people have their journeys, I have mine. So the second thing is to remember that this industry is rapidly evolving, rapidly changing. And one of the reasons I like working in it is the fact that I don't know everything. There's so much new things to learn all the time. So once you realize that, you realize, okay, if I don't know something, I'm not an imposter. It's part of the industry. This is part of why I'm here. I want to learn. I want to move forward.
I can personally relate to, and I've certainly experienced challenges such as the imposter syndrome and low confidence. We're all human, and we all doubt ourselves at some point. I certainly have. I think sharing such struggles can help build connections, it can help build empathy. However, females can experience these doubts as well as all the additional barriers that exist. So, whilst it's absolutely useful to share such human experiences, and they can make us more compassionate and connected, it's important to remember that they are not equivalent.